Hello Sales Nation, I'm Will Barron, host of the Salesman Podcast. In this video, 5 of the world's leading business and sales experts share their thoughts on how we can build long-term, deep business relationships with our customers. So let's jump right in.
Really simply, it puts into three specific phases. So we've all heard the adage of people do business with those they know, like, and trust. The reality here is that although that's helpful, it's not actually useful or effective in helping us think through what we actually need to do practically. So here's the framework of the process. So first of all, we need to think about the relationship as having a gateway into the mind and to the feelings and aspects of the customer. So the first thing is the emotional gateway, and then the intellectual gateway, and then the ethical gateway. I'm going to explain exactly what those things are. So the process here is, first of all, the emotional thing is showing that you care, and are you a safe place to be? So are you going to treat me like I've had people in the past treat me, or are you going to treat me like I want to be treated right there? So that's the specific emotional, or the not the emotional, I should say, but the emotional gateway. And then you have the intellectual one, which is around the credibility. So what's the inherent value or the reward, the reputation, and the advice that I'll get from you that's unique and differentiated than anybody else? And then the ethical value, or the ethical gateway, I should say, is about are you somebody that actually is congruent with what you say and do? So are you somebody who is going to tell me the truth? Are you somebody who's respectful of me? And are you somebody who's going to take ownership of the problems that we face and potentially could face together? So when you think about those particular gateways, as I call them, then you can build that into your communication to share that with your customer on an ongoing basis to ensure that they are totally in sync with you as a person they want to do relationship with.
I believe that if you are not passionate about what you represent, what you sell, the product that you have, it's hard to make that side of it work. So that is critical. And obviously having a good product is a part of that. Relationships are essential. Those are the people that you pick up the phone and call when you move to a new company or have something that you want to position or bring them in as part of. When you have a relationship, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I want you to give this a try, or I'm doing something new and different, or I've got a great new rollout that we've got. There's a level of trust that comes along with that relationship where someone can say to you and me, hey, Noel, thanks for the call. Of course, I'm willing to listen to what you have. And you know them well enough to know that it makes sense for them. So you get one chance at that with a relationship, and then you've got to prove it through the product and delivery afterwards. If you have a product or service or represent something where you could call a friend, and either that friend can say to you, yes, I'd love to try it, or they can refer you to the person inside of the company with a great recommendation and say, you want to talk to Noel, you want to talk to Will, you want to talk to whoever it is about this thing, that is the best. Now, to cultivate that takes time. So I go back to friendships I had in high school. I'm 47 years old now, and I've got friends that are doing incredible things, and I can pick up the phone and call them at, whether it's at LinkedIn or Bank of America, and say, I started this business 4 years ago. Can you help me with something or get me the right person? And without doubt, they will say yes. Those are real friendships. But in the years of business, I've developed those as well by virtue of what I've delivered to and for them and the value that I've brought to the table relative to that relationship. It took me a long time to convert a business relationship into a friendship. Once I realized that I could actually do that, they became even more valuable, because those two worlds together is, I think, the best. A friend that's also a business relationship. And it came to the point where I offered a lot of value in advance, and those relationships became very real. There's fast friends, there's long-term friends, there's people you've known from other criteria outside of business. But what has really worked for me lately is if I meet somebody in a business context and I say, I like them. I actually enjoy their personality. I want them to meet my children, my family, come over for dinner. They're not just on my holiday card list, but someone I actually want to spend time with. That's certainly not everybody I meet in the business setting, but there are a lot of people lately, once I opened my mind to that and said, I'd actually like to spend some time with them. That is extraordinary. Now, there are also people that I don't want to have that kind of relationship with. But to me, doing something that you are passionate about and that you love, a friendship can be cultivated over coffee once a month, once every quarter, just to say, what's going on with you? How are things? How can I help you? Also, one thing I've learned is I've made myself vulnerable and I've made myself available to these people so that they can get to know me. So that when it's not something to say, hey, how can we do business together? It's, how are your children? You just had surgery. You just did this. I understand your mother's sick. Those are real relationships. Again, maybe not people I have invite over to the barbecue or to my house for dinner, but friendships nonetheless, because I know more about them than just business. And I actually genuinely care in a way that makes it a deeper relationship that allows it to be easier when the sale happens.
It's easy to look out the window at everybody else, but the starting point really is to look in the mirror and ask yourself this question, do I trust myself? And how credible am I? And so I would say, as you're asking yourself that question, you're looking at both in terms of your character and your competence. And on the character, I'm looking kind of in two dimensions there on the character side. My integrity. Do I do what I say I'm going to do? Do I do the right thing? What's my integrity? Am I honest? Am I truthfulness? But also I'm looking at my intent. What's my intent? Am I just trying to make the sale to make money? Or am I really trying to help my clients succeed? I'm trying to create value for those that I'm serving, those that I'm trying to sell to. I'm focusing on them. Look, I'm not against making money. I want to make money, but I'm thinking in terms of win-win, abundance, mutual benefit. My starting point is I start with saying, I'd like to help you win. And of course, I'd like to win too, but my win comes through your win. I help my client succeed. My intent is to help you succeed. And if that's the intent, that will really help. So I start there, focusing on my character, my integrity, my intent. And you can really ask yourself, do I trust myself? And do I give to my prospects and my clients a salesperson that they can trust? Is it smart to trust me? And you can kind of gauge yourself on that. But if you want, you can measure it.
I was taught early on that people buy you, not as much the product or whatever gadget you're selling, because there are a lot of competitors in the workplace. And what I've come to learn over time is a quote that I developed, that trust is the soul of sales. So when people feel they know you, like you, and can trust you, that's when sales start exploding. I believe so. In fact, I tell people that the initial sale doesn't even matter. What you need to focus on is the long-term relationship so that you have a returning and referring clientele. That's my definition of the smooth sale. When you do a job well, take your time, have patience, and really get to know people, that's when the relationship builds and that repeat business happens. And then I turn the question around. Think about a time you bought from somebody you didn't particularly like. I suggest having a mix. Obviously, the low-hanging fruit will get you started, and you need to prove yourself, particularly if you're on a new job. And it's far easier to work with people who think similarly. But at the same time, there should always be a mix of very large corporations in your pipeline, if that's within your territory, and some difficult people, because I feel from every experience, good and bad, in particular the bad, if you're willing to learn from every error, every experience, you are going to be a stellar salesperson by the time you get past all those hurdles. So challenge yourself to work with a mix. That's my advice.
So if you're in a farmer position, then obviously the stakes get a little higher, because that recurring revenue model or the targets for recurring revenue from that customer become much more pertinent, much more specific, and much more real for that individual. So the relationships at any stage, I don't think anybody would disagree, are important to, I guess, the positioning of how you can accelerate the relationship and actually the profitability from that as well. But from a farmer perspective, I can speak from that perspective, is really just talking about how you begin to amplify that relationship so that you're able to sell more profitably, and actually get them to like you in the process. So amplifying the relationship starts from the basis of trust. And we kind of know this, but the question we often don't ask is, how can I actually build trust with this customer on a weekly basis? What are the daily implications of that for me as a sales rep, as a sales account manager, whatever that might be? And one of those things that we often take for granted is this place of being able to empathize with our our customer? So what does it mean to really to get into a position where they believe that you care enough for them to share something different with you than they haven't done before? And really the position for an account manager is just that, is getting your customer to share something with you that they hadn't done before, so you can get to a place that you haven't been before. And I think empathy, being able to demonstrate care, being able to demonstrate that you can move from a place of self-interest into their interest on a regular basis, and being able to demonstrate that daily will put you in good stead for amplifying that relationship.